believe them. If our culture is so backward, I think I have had a chat about it in a long time back with Professor Mushtaq Sahab also. If our culture is so backward, then how come we survived for thousands of years, hundreds of years? We did survive with our traditional wisdom, didn't we? Evolving because it's the places where it has survived, where a culture has survived, other than writings and stuff, is the home. Home where we share pain and joy, vicissitudes of life, and close connections can be the spaces for having these conversations around our identities, the good parts of our culture, traditions and songs and writings that represent who we are, not something where we are told who you are. For example, your culture is that way. You know, our youth, you all, and so many others read much less than they should. They are becoming increasingly vulnerable to read where they live virtual realities rather than stay rooted in real culture. Not as something static. I'm not saying that we have to be static. We have to just how we lived thousands of years ago. We have to keep living that. No, but at once giving and receiving and evolving. Evolving. That's important. You know, music and movies, stories and books are more global than local. Their production is more a function of capital than intellectual journey. Having conversations about who we are and where we historically come from without letting that fine gap between decolonization and indigenization be misused for ideological gains. Discussions around our strengths and also weaknesses, okay, that sometimes voluntary and imposed voicelessness, our struggles against exploitation. Every aspect can be, should be, and must be talked about within families. Elders can and must try to generate interest of children and youth in such conversations and slowly and gradually sensitize them towards our socio-economic and cultural realities as they have been handed down and evolved through generations. These conversations will not only help us preserve the best parts of our socio-cultural life and traditional wisdom, but also bridge the gaps between generations. We will be able to keep our youth culturally grounded, protecting our indigeneity, while also not falling into the trap of divisiveness. Respect for cultural diversity, though not at the cost of our own place in this world. I request and I urge you all to think about cultural production, to think about the kind of music that we listen to, the kind of stories that we care and tell and create, the kind of social media reels that you see. There is so much scope where we can talk about our culture, about identities. And for you all, I would urge you to do that, to try to find out who we were and who we are and where we are headed to. This comes straight from my heart to you as a teacher. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Auntie. It's an amazing and very interesting paper. I think what you face as a mother, the problem you face, I think it's a very common problem for every mother nowadays. And yes, it's time to think and rethink about our own identity. We should be very careful. Actually, आप लोगों को दिन की दिन टीवी में या कहीं भी सोशल मीडिया आप लोगों के ऊपर जो भी इन्फ्लुएंस करते हैं, you just adapt those things. And somehow हम लोग अपना जो we are just losing our own identity. So it's time to think and rethink about that. Now, Dr. Anisha Iqbal Shabir from History Department, please come and present your thoughts.
Good evening, Professor Mushtaq Zargar, Dr. Anjali, Dr. Iqbal, Dr. Kamal, Dr. Amina, and all my dear students. I would like to transgress a little. From morning, we've been listening to a lot on folklore, folk culture, and all in all, encompassing every aspect of folk culture and folklore. But since I hail from Maharashtra, I took up just one topic, that is tamasha, which is a folk theatre. Now, whenever Tamasha is concerned, I wrote an article just yesterday night. It's entitled Tamasha, the Pulse of Maharashtra, a socio-cultural analysis of folk theatre. And in this Tamasha of folk theatre, I'm trying to analyze the socio-cultural dynamics, the subaltern expression, and cultural politics in Maharashtra. So Tamasha, which is one of the most vibrant folk theatre traditions of Maharashtra, it occupies a distinctive position in India's performative and socio-cultural landscape. From far from being a mere form of popular entertainment, Tamasha has historically functioned as a medium of social commentary, cultural negotiation, subaltern expression, emerging from marginalized communities and shaped by syncretic religious, political, and aesthetic influences. Tamasha reflects the tensions of caste hierarchy, gender politics, and cultural legitimacy within Maharashtrian society. This article tries to examine Tamasha as a complex socio-cultural institution Over time, two broad stylistic streams emerge: Dholki Bhari, emphasizing rhythm and dance, and Sangeet Bhari, privileged lyrical musical virtue. Basically, Tamasha developed as a performance tradition rooted in marginalized communities, but particularly the Kolharis, Mahars, and Mahas. Members relied on it for livelihood and cultural visibility. The social location profoundly expressive and the stigma associated with the form. Whenever the structural anatomy of performative meaning is concerned, a traditional tamasha performance follows a recognizable yet flexible structure and integrates devotion, narrative, and spectacle. The Gan or Gana opens the performance with an invocation typically to Lord Ganesha, establishing ritual legitimacy and reflecting the holistic cultural worldview in which entertainment is inseparable from spirituality. This is followed by segments such as the Gavlan, often drawing on Krishna lore to explore playful
negotiations of gender and power, and the Vagnatya, the dramatic core of the performance. The Vag is marked by improvisation, satire, topical engagement, addressing mythological themes, historical memory, or contemporary social issues. The Lavani, the most recognizable and controversial element of Tamasha, occupies an ambivalent cultural space characterized by complex rhythms, expressive movement, and emotive singing. It exemplifies both artistic mastery and social contestation. Wherever the tamasha is concerned, it has been a folk theatre which gives subaltern expression. The marginalized community, like the Mahar and Mang, they are the ones who perform the tamasha, and through the tamasha, they take up subjects of social, political, and economic importance, trying to bring about the caste hierarchies and the problems that are prevalent
Politically educating people. So there are characters such as the Songara, who's a clown, employs satire and wit to ridicule upper caste pretensions, offering moments of cathartic resistance. In this sense, Tamasha articulated a form of cultural dissent, enabling marginalized communities to assert presence within an otherwise exclusionary social order. The classification dimensions, female performers, particularly the Lavani dancers, have historically occupied a deeply paradoxical social location. The Tamasha Wali embodies conflicting cultural archetypes, artist and object, breadwinner and outcast, public performer and social outsider. Associations, real or constructed, between Tamasha and sexual immorality have profoundly shaped the lives of women performers, limiting marriage prospects and reinforcing stigma. At the same time, Lavani lyrics often articulate female desire, longing, emotional agency in ways largely absent from elite literary traditions. Contemporary feminist debates continue to grapple with whether tamasha represents patriarchal exploitation or a constrained space of female expression, or more accurately, both simultaneously. Tamasha in the 19th and early 20th century played a very significant role in bringing about political mobilization and social reform. Particularly, Jyotirao Phule and Satyashodak Samaj recognized its communicative power among non-literate masses through the adaptation of Bhagnatya into Jalsa performances. Tamasha was mobilized to criticize caste oppression, promote education, and disseminate anti-Brahminical ideology. During the nationalist movement, Tamasha troops were similarly employed to spread political messages, demonstrating the form's flexibility as an instrument of mass communication. These interventions highlight Tamasha's capacity to function not merely as cultural expression but as ideological practice. Contemporary transformation and cultural challenges are faced during the post-independence Maharashtra. Tamasha confronts significant challenges such as rising nationalism, rising decline of traditional patronage, it demands a critical appreciation of its aesthetic complexity, social embeddedness, and historical resilience. The future of Tamasha depends not only on preservation, but on ensuring that the communities who sustain it and practice their art with dignity security, and creative autonomy. In this sense, Tamasha remains a vital democratic space where culture speaks in the language of the people and continues to do so against considerable odds. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I thank Tahir Bhai for inviting me for this. Thank you.
Next, I will invite Munazza Nias, Dr. Munazza Nias, Sushma from Aligarh Muslim University to present her paper.
मैं 7 मिनट का तक समय दे दीजिए सबको, फिर बोला जल्दी सब समय खत्म हो रहा है.
Coming from the upper caste and being got chased, they were not allowed to sing in the public spaces. So we are seeing that Dalit. This one another trending song, which was sung usually while grinding the grains, and it says as एक चुटकी सिंदूर के लिए मुझे घर से दूर भेज दिया. So we are seeing even in simple domestic spaces, the women questions property, inheritance, and patriarchy. These are not innocent songs. They were critiqued, but they were sung quietly. Now coming to the next theme, these were the labor songs which were sung during laboring. These songs were about hunger, migration, and survival. Dalit women used to work in the landlord's fields, in their houses, and then in their own home also. This much overburdened with the physical work, they used to sing out. So there is this one Kashti line in which a woman is singing as खेतों में रोपण करी गोरी कमर तो रही है राम. So she is trying to say that working in the field day and night, my back is breaking. These are the songs depicting the harsh labor Dalit women were subjected to. There were also the song of longing, because we are seeing that these were the Dalit men who often go to distant land to in search of work, and in their absence, their wives were singing their longings through songs. These songs speak of migration, loneliness, and hunger.
this one spring song says as Pia Gaile Bideswa Hamar Sejia Suni Ho Ram. So she's singing as my husband has gone to a distant land, my bed lies empty. These songs were not about solution, but they were about expressing their suffering. They transformed their suffering into the shared memory. In an elopement song, an upper caste woman is singing as had I known, oh Ram, that by caste you are a loser, I have never left my father's home. So interestingly, it seems to be sung by some upper caste women, but the question remains same that it was the shame of belonging to the lower caste, the workload belonging to the lower caste. We are seeing that after eloping, she is forced to graze pigs, which she is singing out in this particular song. So that belonging to a particular for them a symbol of that. So even in punishment, they are singing out. Their voices are surviving. Next in the line are holy song. It is very interesting category, which again empower Dalit women, in which women use satire as an element of to mock the upper caste. Holy for created a temporary space of reversal. During Holi, women openly mock men. One satirical line goes as Babuji's mustache is big, but there is no strength in it. In these moments, Dalit women publicly laughed at the caste masculinity. For them, obscenity become resistance. So, after a change of period, when the Ambedkarite movement becomes strong, we see a change in the singing theme. Earlier, these were the goddess songs, which later became the Ambedkarite consciousness. In early years, many Dalit women participated in goddess worship. That was the worship of Sitala, Lona Chamare. These were their goddess. And interestingly, these were the deities which were outside the Brahminical system. These deities specifically were also women. They had their own gods which they sang about. But over time, themes shifted toward the Ambedkar songs which began to move from devotion to assertion. What earlier was ritual imitation of the upper caste becomes a political consciousness of being Dalit. Women began participating in meetings, they opposed child marriage, widowhood. The cultural voice slowly entered the political history. And the last thing which I'm discussing here is public performance, which was not encouraged. And one most prominent theme which they performed about the Sarika. Sarika was one of the freedom fighters who fought in 57 War of Independence. And the Nautanki performer who performed the Sarika was Gulab Bai. And they performed the Nautanki performances. They perform anti-caste narrative. Through these performances, Dalit women said, we have history, we have heroes, we are not just victims. So in conclusion, I would say that opposition also exists part, right? But because Dalit women were excluded from formal education and their history survived in memory. So again, the question is, what does this mean? To spread our idea of history beyond document and history. Dalit women not as silent sufferers, but thinkers, critics, and creators. Through symbols, they reshape Dalit identity. So to understand Dalit fully, we must listen to the women.
Next, I invite Arlene Zainab from AMU. Uh,
पूछने नहीं इसमें
दोनों एक चला मैं मराठी
स्कैन करके ना
हाँ हाँ
हाँ कि हाँ
हाँ यस
नहीं तो इधर प्रॉब्लम आ जाएगा ना और कुछ भी नहीं तो इसमें खुला है ना
जी 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 दो है उसमें मराठी
ठीक है
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Almi Zehra from Department of Linguistics at the Muslim University. The title of my paper is Folklore as a Tool for Cultural Identity Formation and Evaluative Study, which is written in collaboration with Muhammad Rafi, and Azhar Ahmad. So in today's globalized era, popular cultures spread very quickly, and as a result, the cultural traditions are being ignored or are being at lost. At such a time, folk tradition becomes important in keeping cultural identity alive. For indigenous and marginalized communities, these traditions are not just customs. They are living practices that carries memories, beliefs, and the way the people see and represent the world. Through stories, songs, rituals, and daily practices, cultural knowledge is passed from one generation to another. And in a diverse country like India, folk tradition helps communities share their histories and they build a strong sense of belonging. And even today, folklore plays a very important role in preserving cultural heritage and identity in connected world. As many papers are written on folklore, but this paper is quite different because mostly the paper is written on the how folklore represent our culture. But this paper it shows folklore as an active part. It is not just a record of history. Here, folklore helps create and strengthen cultural identity, not just they represent the culture. So, by focusing on this idea, this studies offers a clear and new understanding of folklore. In this paper, the three uh, theories are taken into consideration. One is cultural identity theory by Stuart Hall that explains the identity develops through shared history, language, and cultural practices. The second is the performance theory by Richard Berman. It shows that folklore is not just written or remembered, but it is performed once. So people take part in rituals, they tell stories, they sing songs. It is actively more expressive and more engaging. And the third is narrative theory by Judy Bonner, which explains how stories shape how people understand themselves and their communities. So the methodology used here is qualitative and interpretative approach, and this research uses folk ballet from Rajasthan as a culture as case study, and it basically shows the story of Babuji. Let me just give a quick introduction of Babuji. Babuji basically is a brave hero or a 17th century god of Rajasthan who have kept his promise by sacrificing his life and protecting the cattle and the farming system at the cost of his life. And so many communities worship him as a local god. So one of the important thing is Babuji ki Khad. So it is Third actually is a 15 to 30 feet of cloth that is kept at the back, and that has a hand drawing of the lives of Babuji. And then in front of that third, the Bhopa and Bhopi, they are the singers, or we can say the priest singer, who sing and will narrate the life of the
मी
days of Babuji in front of that, and this is done the entire night. So these stories help people remember their history and they teach important values. So by listening them, people get connected and they get encouraged for doing goods. And moving on to the tables, the data. Please, may I have the table?
हाँ देखो
The very first table shows online and media resources.
मेथोलॉजी
Tables. More.
ऊपर या नीचे
Niche. So this table shows online and media resources. As you can see, the Wikipedia did give scholarly explanation of Babaji Bhatt and breaking down its stories and rituals.
आलं ना त्याला विचारा फोन कर
Then second is the Hindu, which connects us to the today's world by showing the struggles and revival effects, like how the art is surviving in today's time. Then is the Google Arts and culture that brings in the sound and visual as well. So it is like we are actually living in that era or in that time, and we are actually experiencing it. And then the next is Doordarshan archives that hold the recordings from 80s and 90s, and this basically showing Bhopa Bokut performances and exactly as they were before the digital era. So basically, this table it is looking like this one folk tradition from four different windows. And when it is combined, it is looking like we have a complete picture of Rajasthan's heritage. May I have the table two? The table two is news and featured articles. So this table basically it has the data of the decline and then the revival of the folk cultures of Rajasthan. Here, the Hindu it talks about how folk artists they had to go online during the time of the COVID, and this shows that modern challenges they face, but then there is also the revival of it that happens through the digital platforms. Second is the Indian Express that is based on performers interview. So it highlights and then there is a scroll.in that explains the reason for decline, especially migration issue, and it is very important for socio-economic analysis. So together, these three articles covers everything. That is the root cause of the decline, then the voice of the performers, and the new revival of the tradition. May I have the next slide, please? Table 3, then here it is a formal academic study of Babuji Third. So here again, the Sahapedia, it gives detailed ethnographic information about performance and rituals. The J-Star, it links the ballet to memory and clan. And academia.edu, it studies the structure of oral epics. Okay. The table 4, excuse me. Table 4, this table actually shows the videos and documentaries to study the Rajasthani folk tradition. The first video, as I have already given the link as well, is from RIF Jodhpur 2023, which shows a modern stage performance of Babuji with children music. So this will help us compare traditional and modernity. That is how the epic changes when performed for a contemporary and even international audience. So the second video there, it is from 2019, which captures a photography tour performing Sezaji ballet in a rural setting. So it shows the authentic audience interaction and the traditional music techniques that are often missing in stage exhibition. The next table, it shows the digital archives and museums of Rajasthan's folk music tradition in so basically, at last, I would like to conclude that these all tables and these all data shows that Rajasthan's Babuji ki Phat is not just a relic of past, but it is a living tradition that preserves history, morals, and faith. Despite the challenges like migration and modern pressures, it continues to adapt and survive. And in the end, the folklore emerges as both a legacy to be preserved and a transforming force for cultural resilience in a globalized world. Thank you. Thank you, Alani. Next, Nargis Khatun from I am Nargis Khatun, research scholar from my department of history. My topic is oral traditions and indigenous knowledge. Ecological wisdom and health practices in 19th century Bengal. Today, I will speak about oral traditions and indigenous knowledge in 19th century Bengal, focusing on how they shaped ecological understanding and health practices long before modern science and institutional medicine reached rural society. Study history usually depend on different sources, reports, but for most 19th century Bengal, knowledge did not come from books. Also, eventually songs, rituals, traditions was like library. There is a practical knowledge about rituals, food, and rituals. As a Bengali জ্ঞান বাঁচে আমি knowledge survive by it is spoken from our my main argument is that oral well-developed system of knowledge shaped by the local ecology and evolution. Blue or historical context. In 19th century Bengal, people lived very close to nature, like in forest, fertile land, and monsoon rain shaped everyday life. Most people depended on agriculture, fishing, and local natural resources for survival. Since formal education was limited and largely controlled by colonial and ethnic groups, oral traditions became the main way knowledge was shared. Through folk tales, folk songs, proverbs, and rituals, people learned when to sow crops, how to read seasonal changes, how to protect water sources, how to plant would cure illnesses. Colonial officials and doctors, however, often dismissed this knowledge as superstitious or backward. As Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay once noted while discussing village life in his essay on rural society and culture. Rami Bharater Kar, the meaning, the village is the soul of India. My thought that indigenous knowledge was deeply practical, ecological, and experience based. Then I have to tell something on rural traditions as knowledge systems. In this paper, I treat oral traditions not as a simple folklore, but as systems of knowledge. This included folk tales and myths, proverbs or lokokti, seasonal songs and rituals, spoken advice from elders, healers, and midwives. They were tools for education and survival. For example, proverbs help farmers understand rainfall, floods, and soil conditions. Seasonal songs reflected knowledge of agricultural and fishing cycles. Stories warned people against polluting water or devastating forests. Dinesh Chandra Sen in Bengali Itihas and Bengali Lok Sahitya showed how rural stories carried everyday wisdom rather than fantasy. Because this knowledge was easy to remember, to pass on, and easy to play, and flexible and adaptable. This flexibility allowed communities to respond to environmental uncertainty, disease, and crisis. Now, we must have to look on ecological knowledge in oral traditions. In 19th century Bengal, ecological knowledge came mainly from experiences, not only textbooks. Folktales describe forest, rivers, animals, and farming life, often teaching that nature should be respected, not exploited. A common rural belief expressed this idea simply. গাছ বাঁচলে মানুষ বাঁচে। If trees survive, humans survive. Proverbs were especially important. Farmers used them to predict monsoons, prepare for plants for crops, decide the right time for sowing and harvest. Seasonal songs sung by farmers and fisherfolk showed a deep understanding of weather patterns and natural rhythms. This ecological knowledge helped communities survive floods, famines, and environmental change in a relatively sustainable way. Then we are coming on indigenous health and healing practices in 19th century Bengal. Health in 19th century Bengal was closely linked to natural season and community life. Health knowledge was shared orally by caviars and ritual healers or bosa, midwives or dadi, elderly women within households. Herbal medicine played a central role. Plants like neem, tulsi, turmeric, and ginger were commonly used to treat fever, wounds, digestive problems, infections. Healers knew what plants being when to cut season affected their state. Traditional medical texts like Charaka Samhita influenced local practice, but everyday healing knowledge survived mainly through spoken instruction. Women played a crucial role in healthcare, managing childbirth, child care, diet, and everyday illnesses. Health was not seen as individual issue, but as a shared responsibility of the family and community. Then, I must have to highlight on colonial impact and marginalization. Colonial rule disrupted this system of knowledge. British authorities promoted Western medicine and dismissed indigenous
rights and women's labors were ignored and marginalized. Colonial land and forest policies also damaged traditional ecological practices. Nature was treated as an economic resource, not a living system. English education created a hierarchy of knowledge where Western science was seen as modern, indigenous knowledge was labeled as backward. Yet, as folk literature, okay, including I also have to take a consideration on the written history through oral voices. By using oral traditions, we can recover the voices of women, rural communities, lower caste and indigenous groups. These voices are often missing from written history. Oral traditions preserve the memories of epidemics, famines, and environmental crises. They show that knowledge was collective, shaped by gender roles, community life, and close interaction with nature. Then I'm coming on that oral traditions were powerful carriers of indigenous knowledge in 19th century Bengal. They preserved ecological wisdom and health practices developed through long engagement and uh, long engagement with the local environment. This knowledge was practical, adaptive, sustainable, and deeply connected to everyday life. Even though colonial rule tried to marginalize it, much of this knowledge survived through oral transmission and still relevant today. But recognizing indigenous knowledge system, we gain a more inclusive, grounded, and human understanding of history.
Thank you, Nati. Now I invite Dheeraj Pratap Singh from Uttar Pradesh to present his paper.
सम्मानित मंच, उस पे बैठे हुए विशिष्टगण तथा आपकी उपस्थिति को प्रणाम करता हूं। मैं रिसर्च स्कॉलर सेंटर फॉर थिएटर एंड फिल्म यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ इलाहाबाद। आज मेरा टॉपिक है प्रदर्शन कलाओं, संगीत, नृत्य, नाटक तथा लोक नाट्य के सर्वांगीण विकास हेतु विश्वविद्यालयों में आधुनिक प्रेक्षागृह या ऑडिटोरियम की एक भूमिका। विश्वविद्यालय एक ऐसा परिषद जिसमें भिन्न भिन्न स्थानों से विद्यार्थी अपने सर्वांगीण विकास के लिए आते हैं और अपनी सभ्यता, लोकगीत, क्षेत्रीय लोक कलाओं के प्रभाव से होते हुए भी लोक कलाओं के बारे में जानना एवं सीखना चाहते हैं तथा अपनी संस्कृति के बारे में बात करने में रुचि रखते हैं। वहीं कुछ विद्यार्थी कला प्रेमी होते हैं जो कला जैसी विधा को सीखना चाहते हैं और अन्य विश्वविद्यालयों के विद्यार्थियों से प्रतिस्पर्धा भी करना चाहते हैं। जब विश्वविद्यालय में एक आधुनिक ऑडिटोरियम उपलब्ध होगा तो उन्हें नाटक, नृत्य, संगीत जैसी विधा को करके सीखने के साथ साथ अपने आप को परखने का अवसर भी प्राप्त होगा। भारत की कलात्मक परंपराएं सदियों से सभ्यता और समाज दोनों को प्रभावित करती आई हैं। संगीत, नृत्य और लोक नाट्य भारतीय सामाजिक संरचना तथा संस्कृति विकास के महत्वपूर्ण स्तंभ है। भारत विविधता का देश है, जहाँ एक कोस पे पानी बदले 1.5 कोस पे वाणी। एक कोस पे आप चले जाए तो पानी का स्वाद बदल जाएगा, 8वें कोस पे आप चले जाए तो वाणी बदल जाती है या बोली बदल जाती है। तो यहाँ भारत विविधता के देश है, यहाँ संगीत की अनगिनत धाराएं, अनेक शैलियां और नाटक की विभिन्न परंपराएं और अलग अलग क्षेत्रों में विकसित लोक नाट्य जैसे नौटंकी, तमाशा, हवाई, बौद्ध कथा परंपरा, यक्षगान, कथकली, रामलीला, रासलीला आदि मौजूद है। लोक कला अक्सर खुले मंचों पर विकसित हुई, परंतु शैक्षणिक संस्थानों में इन्हें प्रस्तुत करने और संरक्षित करने के लिए आधुनिक प्रेक्षागृह उपयुक्त मंच प्रदान करता है। इसी के तहत जब लोक कला मंच पर रूपांतरित होती है तब तकनीकी तौर पर कई विधाओं का साथ आना आवश्यक हो जाता है। इन परंपराओं को संरक्षित और विकसित करने के लिए एक संस्थागत ढांचे की आवश्यकता होती है। विश्वविद्यालय शिक्षा की केवल पाठ ज्ञान तक सीमित नहीं है, बल्कि व्यक्तित्व विकास, सृजनशील कौशल और सांस्कृतिक जागरूकता का भी माध्यम है। अतः प्रदर्शन कलाओं के लिए उपयुक्त भौतिक संरचना, विशेषकर ऑडिटोरियम या प्रेक्षागृह शिक्षा के समग्र उद्देश्य को पूर्ण करने में अनिवार्य भूमिका निभाता है। सांस्कृतिक कार्यक्रम समाज में सामूहिकता और संवेदनशीलता बढ़ाते हैं। लोक कला समाज में से ही उत्पन्न होती है, अतः विश्वविद्यालय उसका स्वाभाविक शोध केंद्र है। आधुनिक प्रेक्षागृह इस संवाद को सशक्त बनाता है। प्रेक्षागृह के तकनीकी घटक और उपयोग और सुविधाएं। आधुनिक प्रेक्षागृह में मंच संरचना, रिहर्सल स्पेस, बैक स्टेज क्षेत्र, ड्रेसिंग रूम, क्राफ्ट स्टोर, फ्लोर मैनेजमेंट की सफलता के लिए अनिवार्य अंग है। प्रकाश व्यवस्था नाटक और नृत्य की आत्मा को उभारती है। फिलिप आस्टिन की पुस्तक स्टेज लाइटिंग डिजाइन में बताया गया है कि प्रकाश न केवल मंच को उजागर करता है बल्कि भावनाओं को नाटकीय दिशा देता है। विद्यार्थियों के विकास में प्रेक्षागृह की भूमिका व्यक्तित्व विकास। मंच विद्यार्थियों में मंच प्रस्तुति आत्मविश्वास और कौशल विकसित करता है। शिक्षा मनोवैज्ञानिक जेरोम ब्रूनर ने के अनुसार कला आधारित अधिगम विद्यार्थियों में सृजनात्मक तर्क वितर्क को विकसित करते हैं। आत्मविश्वास, संप्रेषण कौशल, टीम वर्क, नेतृत्व क्षमता विकसित करता है। विद्यार्थी मंच पर अलग अलग कला शैलियों, तकनीकों, विधियों का व्यवहारिक प्रयोग करते हैं। यह शोध नवाचार की क्षमता को बढ़ाता है। सफल मंचन कला छात्रों को नई शैलियां, तकनीकी और अभिव्यक्ति के तरीके विकसित करने का अवसर देता है। कैरियर उन्मुखता। आज रंगमंच, संगीत, नृत्य, प्रकाश व्यवस्था, ध्वनि की तकनीकी, मंच सज्जा आदि के क्षेत्र में कैरियर की अनेक संभावनाएं। विश्वविद्यालय का प्रेक्षागृह विद्यार्थियों को पेशेवर अनुभव देता है। प्रदर्शन कला से जुड़े विद्यार्थी भविष्य में कलाकार, निर्देशक, नृत्य शिक्षक, संगीत उत्पादक, थिएटर टेक्नीशियन, सांस्कृतिक प्रबंधक बन सकते हैं। इस प्रकार प्रेक्षागृह एक कैरियर निर्माण के रूप में भी कार्य करता है। दस्तावेज और अभिलेखागार। लोक कलाएं मौखिक परंपरा में जीवित रहती हैं। प्रोफेसर देवेंद्र शर्मा द म्यूजिकल थिएटर ऑफ नॉर्थ इंडिया में बताते हैं कि यदि संस्थागत स्तर पर प्रस्तुतियों का अभिलेखीकरण किया जाए तो लोक परंपराएं लुप्त नहीं होंगी। विद्यालयों में लोक नाट्य प्रस्तुतियां आयोजित करने से पारंपरिक कला के रूप का दस्तावेजीकरण, वीडियो रिकॉर्डिंग, उनकी शैलियों पर शोध संभव है। राष्ट्रीय और राज्य स्तर का समर्थन। भारत सरकार की राष्ट्रीय नीति 2020 में कला शिक्षा को शिक्षा के मुख्य धारा में शामिल करने पर बल दिया गया है। इसके अनुरूप भी प्रत्येक विश्वविद्यालय में आधुनिक प्रेक्षागृह का निर्माण अनिवार्य होना चाहिए। भारत सरकार और राज्य सरकारों को विश्वविद्यालय में प्रेक्षागृह निर्माण की विशेष निधि उपलब्ध करानी चाहिए। निजी और पीपीपी मॉडल, प्राइवेट पब्लिक पार्टनरशिप। अभी हम भोपाल गए थे तो भोपाल में क्या है कि भोपाल सरकार ने वहां के पब्लिक से और प्राइवेट बिजनेसमैन है जो और वहां की सरकार से इस पे क्या है कि कुछ पैसे में ऑडिटोरियम देने की बात कही है। तकनीकी कर्मियों का प्रशिक्षण। विश्वविद्यालय में प्रशिक्षण कार्यक्रम शुरू किए जाएं। साउंड इंजीनियर, लाइट टेक्नीशियन, स्टेज मैनेजर प्रशिक्षित करने के लिए विश्वविद्यालय में विशेष कार्यक्रम चलाए जाने चाहिए। स्टेज मैनेजर, लाइट टेक्नीशियन और साउंड इंजीनियर की संख्या भारत में अभी भी बहुत सीमित है। नियमित सांस्कृतिक कैलेंडर एवं समावेशी मंच। हर विश्वविद्यालय को वार्षिक सांस्कृतिक कैलेंडर तैयार करना चाहिए जिसमें संगीत सम्मेलन, नाट्य प्रयोग, नाट्योत्सव, युवा महोत्सव आज शामिल हो। प्रेक्षागृह को केवल कलाओं के लिए नहीं बल्कि अकादमिक सम्मेलन, डिबेट, शोध प्रस्तुतियां, अंतर विश्वविद्यालय प्रतियोगिताओं के लिए भी उपयोग में लाना चाहिए। इसके लिए मैंने 107 क्वेश्चन का 107 लोगों के साथ एक गूगल सर्वे किया है। उसका थोड़ा मैं बता देता हूँ। और अभी मैं अलीगढ़ मुस्लिम यूनिवर्सिटी में एक डिपार्टमेंट है फिल्म क्लब करके, तो फिल्म क्लब में मैंने देखा कि बहुत सारी गतिविधियां हो रही हैं लेकिन इसका कोई ऐसा ढांचा नहीं है, ऐसा कोई कोर्स नहीं है जिससे लोग जागरूक होकर उस पे काम करें। और मतलब किताबों में ही बहुत बातें हैं लेकिन मैं चाहता हूँ कि एज ए कोर्स हर जगह लागू होना चाहिए। विश्वविद्यालय में एक प्रेक्षागृह की आवश्यकता को देखते हुए प्रश्नावली विधि में विभिन्न प्रकार के शैक्षणिक स्तर के विद्यार्थियों को शामिल किया गया है जिनमें उच्च स्तर, माध्यमिक, स्नातक, परास्नातक, शोधार्थी, शिक्षागण आज शामिल है। एक क्वेश्चन था कि असंरचना और पहुंच। आज अधिकांश भारतीय विश्वविद्यालय में या तो आधुनिक प्रेक्षागृह, ऑडिटोरियम का अभाव है या उपलब्ध स्तर तकनीकी रूप से अपर्याप्त, जर्जर एवं व्यापक सांस्कृतिक गतिविधियों के अनुरूप नहीं है। जिन विश्वविद्यालय में प्रेक्षागृह हैं वो भी आधुनिक अवसंरचना के काफी पहुंच से दूर है। आधुनिक तकनीकी रूप से सुसज्जित प्रेक्षागृह प्रदर्शन कलाओं को जीवंत रखने और विद्यार्थियों के समग्र विकास में महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाता है। थैंक यू सो मच।
Next, I invite Dr. Vinay.
जी बहुत सारा डाटा है क्या? देख ले
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Vinay from the Department of English, Aligarh Muslim University. The title of my research paper is Exploring Indian Mythology and Folklore in Girish Karnad's Hayavadan. So, my paper examines how Girish Karnad has used Indian mythology and folklore in Hayavadan, which is his play. Uh, I will quickly show how myth and folk theatre techniques shape the drama and deals with some of the important modern themes of identity and incompleteness. So, Girish Karnad is one of the most famous playwrights of modern Indian theatre. He has used myth and folklore to discuss some contemporary psychological and social issues in his plays. Hayavadan deals with some of the themes like human search for completeness, the use of traditional form questions modern existence, and the themes of modern play. The sources of this particular play is Katha Sagar and Thomas Mann's Transposed Heads. It is one of the texts that is the source of Hayavadan. And we see that in this particular play, when we read the story or when we watch the play, we see that this play becomes a dialogue, a connection between ancient myth and modern drama. Because the myth and folklore belongs to the tradition, it's a part of our tradition, our history, but it is employed by Elish Bernard to deal with some of the very important themes of modern drama, that is existentialism or existential crisis also. So the mythological elements that are present in the play, that command is made use of cultural beliefs, religious practices, and Hindu rites and superstitions also in the play. The presence of goddess Kali is extremely significant in the play. Being a worship of all, so I'll just tell you about a brief summary or the plot of this particular play. So basically, it's like a love triangle between three people. There's Padmini, who is the female, who is the female present there, and Kapila and Devdatta. So she's married to Devdatta, who represents each of the poet, whereas Kapila is known for his friends. So basically, Kapila represents instability and Krishna represents. So it's like that. But you falls like she marries Devdata, but falls for Kapila because they're like different. So there's some kind of duel between these two people. Also, they are friends, Kapila and Devdata. So there's duel between these two people, and eventually, when Devdata gets to know about this particular romantic angle of this movie, he cuts off his head. Okay, and he cuts off his head, and seeing this, Kapila also cuts off his head, and because of guilt, now the woman, she also wants to cut off her head, and by seeing all these things, there is a divine intervention. Goddess Kali appears in the scene, and she tells Lady Padmini that you can train the head. So what she does that out of haste, she joins the head of Kapila on Devdatta's body and the head of Devdatta on Kapila's body. So now she gets everything what she wanted, like the leg of Devdatta and the body of Kapila. But also she is not in the play we see that she is not happy with that. So basically, it's a search for identity, and Karnad wants to show that a man is inherently incomplete. So he cannot
cannot be completed by any means. So this is a mythological element that is given in the play. So the accidental exchange of heads between Devdutta and Kapila, it derives the plot, and he uses the myth to question what truly defines identity within mind or within his body. Now, when it comes to the folklore, folklore aspects that are present in the play, so we use folklore devices like masks, songs, dolls, coders, and play within a play, which plays a significant role when we talk about folklore and folklore theatre elements. So there is a narrator also in the play, which is a part, which is an element of folk theatre. And the narrator is called Bhagwala. So he narrates the whole story of the whole drama of the story. There are two stories. One is the plot, main plot, and the other is the subplot. Okay, so the prominent tradition of Tamil drama is invocation made by the god. So here, when the play begins, the narrator invokes Lord Ganesha, and in the subplot we see that there is a story of another person who has whose name is Hayavadan, which is the title of the play. So Hayavadan is the horse of the horse and the body of human being. So he invokes Lord Ganesha, who himself has the head of an elephant and body of a human being. So that begins with the invocation, and uh, let's just quickly come to the conclusion. I won't take much time. So we see that the subplot of Evelyn holds a very important and significant role in the play, whereas the main plot also is very important when we talk about myth and folk. Hayavadan, he seeks completeness by invoking the god Lord Ganesha, and he wants to become complete, and he wants to be a complete man. But when he gets his prayer answered, he becomes a complete horse. Because of completeness, he has lost his human identity as well. So ironically, he becomes a horse, losing human identity completely. So Karna shows that completeness may actually mean loss rather than fulfillment. Uh, I'll just quickly come to the conclusion. Through Hayavadan, Girish Karnad uses these traditional tales to counter modern themes like identity crisis, the tussle between intellect and strength, and the impossibility of achieving perfect fulfillment. That's all from my side.
So, next, Mitali Vash from AME. Mitali Vash.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mitali Vash. I am a research scholar from the Department of Linguistics, Muslim University. My paper title is A Sociolinguistic Analysis of Braj Bhasha Proverbs. We often read proverbs as simple old sayings or folk wisdom. However, in my research, I view language as a semantic archive. It stores the collective wisdom and social patterns of communities. The present research proposes that Braj Bhasha proverbs are not random. They constitute a grammar of values, an unwritten social charter for community. What is fascinating is how they do this. They take abstract, heavy concepts like justice, morality, and kinship and invoke them in tangible, down-to-earth metaphors, from farming and cattle rearing. These proverbs act as tools to guide, control, and coordinate social behavior. To ground this study, I looked at three key areas. Goldschmidt conceptualizes phenomenology as proverbs to be one of the most important characters of cultural knowledge. Gallagher's social-linguistic perspective emphasizes the significance of language in relation to social structure, and scholars like Durga Bhagwat and Ved Prakash Basu have been significant contributors to the realm of Indian folklore. However, I've identified a significant research gap. Most existing research on Dutch proverbs is anthological, basically just collecting this. There is a lack of social linguistic analysis that investigates them as active pragmatic tools. For the methodology, this research employs a qualitative research approach. This corpus used is Rajbhasha proverbs, compiled from folklore publications and validated through its usage in modern oral literature among native speakers. The analysis them by source and organize them by themes to reveal the underlying social rhetoric. Theme 1 is the grammar of power, justice, and social order. This theme defines hierarchy, authority, and the concept of community of justice using pastoral metaphors. For example, is jiski lathi uski bhains, which means he holds the sticks, owns the buffalo. Social linguistically, this establishes a clear power paradigm. The lathi stick represents distinct social power. It acknowledges that authority often comes from instance regulating behavior through the threat of force. Some other proverbs are चिट भी मेरी पट भी मेरी और सिक्का मेरे बाप का, which is head is mine, tail is mine, and the point belongs to my father. The another example is जाको काम वही को साजे और करे तो डंडा बाजे, which means a task suits its doer if others try just stick strikes. There is one more example is Andheri Nagri Chaupat Raja Take Sir Khaja, which means a city of chaos, a fool for a king, vegetables and sweets sold at the same price. Another theme is the grammar of kinship, gender, and domesticity. This theme establishes a code of conduct for the domestic sphere, defining family roles, ethics, and conflict engagement. The good example is जहाँ चार बासन होते हैं वहाँ खटकते हैं. This metaphor is a pragmatic tool. It normalizes domestic tension. Instead of viewing a family fight as a disaster, it frames it as a natural, inevitable side effect of living together, just like pots clanging in a kitchen. Other examples are पूत सपूत तो क्यों धन संचय, पूत कपूत तो क्यों धन संचय. If a son is virtuous, why hoard wealth? And if a son is wicked, why hoard wealth? Another is कहे वो तो बेटी बेटा ना तो ईंट पत्थर. If they heed your words, they are sons and daughters. Otherwise, they are just bricks and stones. The last is पर हाथ बने संदेशे खेती बिन देखे वो ब्याहे बेटी वो फिरे दार के दार. It means business in another's hand, farming by message, and marrying a daughter without seeing the groom. Those who do this wander and ruin. Third theme is it covers pragmatism, consequence, and worldview. This theme reflects the fatalistic yet practical philosophy of agrarian life, dealing with cause and effect and the limitations of human effort. One of the example is बोए पेड़ कपूल को तो आम कहाँ से खाए. This encodes the law of karma or consequence. It serves as warning against bad actions using the agricultural logic that you only harvest what you plant. Another proverbs are दुधारू गाय की लात भी बली. The kick of a milk giving cow is also good. And one is का बरखा जब प्रति सुखानी. What use is rain when the crops have dried? And the last is ना रहेगा बांस ना बजेगी बांसुरी. If there is no bamboo, there will be no flute to play. The last theme is the grammar of social critique and warning. This uses humor to check egos and ridicule pretense. One example is कूटा केवल बचिया कूद है. The calf comes dumps by the strength of the pack. This is a sharp social critique. It mocks a person who shows off power that isn't theirs. Someone acting tough only because they are tied to a powerful patron or boss. It's a tool for social leveling. Some examples are भैंस के आगे बीन बजावे भैंस खड़ी पकड़ा है. Play the flute before a buffalo. It stands there chewing its cuds. One example is ओखली में सड़ गया तो मूसल से इतने कहाँ दरनो. If you have put your head in the mortar, why fear the pestle? Another example is उत्तम खेती जो हर कहा, मध्यम खेती जो संग रहा. The best farming is holding the plow yourself. Mediocre farming is staying with the workers. My conclusion is to conclude. This analysis shows that Braj Bhasha proverbs are far more than just relics of folk poetry. They represent a sophisticated living grammar of value. This grammar acts as an unwritten constitution. It uses agrarian imagery to encode laws, maintain order, and regulate conflict. Ultimately, this corpus is an active toolkit, or it justifies hierarchy, yet subverts it with satire. Mastering this grammar is vital to unlocking the intangible legacy and cultural identity of Braj. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitali. Now I invite last paper reader, Arun Mandal from Uttar Pradesh, to present his paper.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Arun Uday Mandal. I have come from West Bengal and currently I am pursuing my PhD from Mahatma Gandhi University in the Department of English. it's been too late, and I will be around only 7 minutes. So I will try to conclude it in a very peaceful way. So the title of my paper is from yes, title page please. From Chitpur to Kanpur, theatre fuses myth, culture, and history. Jatra from Bengal and Nautanki from UP becomes the voice of masses. I will be dealing with two of the folk theatres. Already, ma'am has presented a paper on Tamasha, and some of the participants already mentioned the Nautanki and other folk theatre forms like Rajasthan. So, I will just come to the objective of my paper. The objectives are investigating the gradual development of Jatra and Nautanki, tracing the mythical, historical, and socio-political aspects of these folk theatres, journey of becoming the weapon for common people, deconstructing the binary of the high cultures and low cultures, finding the reasons for their decline, and recommending suggestions in favor of their preservation. Before going into further discussion, I would like to play a video. Please go to the fourth or fifth slide. Oh, in the slide itself. In the slide itself. Oh, PPT itself. In the PPT itself. Yeah. Number. Yes. The next one. Next one. Next one. Yes. Pages one. Okay. Okay. It would have been good if I would have played. I would have played the video. So yes, the Jatra is actually a folk theatre from Bengal that was originated in the 15th century, and Nautanki is we all know that Nautanki is a folk theatre as well. Like Jatra that was originated in 15th century and that was popular in Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, and other North Indian states. And Jatra is popular in Bengal and Odisha. The the themes they deal with, first they deal with the themes of myth. Both of the art forms started the journey with the mythical elements like Ramayana, Mahabharata, Jadoo, Panchatantra, Kathaswari, and all the things. Then they shifted their focus to the historical elements like the historical Swadeshi movement, the pre-independences struggles, and the other the biography of the historical figures like Marx, Lenin, and so on and so forth. And with the contemporaneity, to maintain the contemporaneity, they focus their they shifted their focus to the contemporary issues like issues, the child marriage, the women empowerment, and the poverty, hunger, illness, and so on and so forth. So the thing they do, they at the end of the day, they talk for the people, the common people. If we focus on the language, the use of the language that is used in Nautanki, that is Harivali dialogue. The dialect is very much, the dialect of common people. That is not standard language. If we go to the Jatra, there is the language the language of the common people. There is no standard kind of language. And if we go to the next section, that how they deal with the yes. Okay, so I will now move to the thing that how do these art forms break the elitism? Both of these theatrical forms break the theatrical and social elitism. Like if we go to the proscenium theaters, they will find that there are seat hierarchies. Like this seat is for 500 rupees, this seat is for 1,000 rupees, and this seat is for 100 rupees. But in case of Jatra and Nautanki, people share a common place and they watch the performance together, sitting side by side, irrespective of caste, creeds, and all the things. Like in the Follows Shastra itself, there is a mention of the breaking this kind of hierarchy, the caste hierarchy, and all the things. And not only that, if we look forward the story and the narratives, all of them are from the background of the common people. And the space that is very much, without any wall, the performers can transcend the audience's space and the vice versa. And then I will go to the how these art forms make the journey from low culture to high culture. Like currently in West Bengal, West Bengal government has started some kind of grants and money things for the for theatre artists, and Uttar Pradesh government has also started thinking about things like these art forms started some kind of attention from the government, some kind of research and academic field. Like we are doing some kind of seminars and conferences on this group theater. So these things are getting under the performance studies, the research materials, and the urban people started embracing them, and the Bollywood actors and the Tollywood actors, they start acting in the front theaters. They start writing from the Jatra and Naughty plays. And not only that, if we look at some Shakespearean plays, some classical Western plays have been Indianized, have become contemporized in the context of Jatra and Naughty. So they are getting presented. So the so-called high kind of literature that is getting entered into this field of Naughty and Jatra. I will. I have come almost a day. The reasons of decline. Why these art forms are getting declined? The I mean, the advent of Bollywood cinemas and the social media, like we scroll Instagram for to watch the 30 second reels and then amuse us, but we don't have that much patience to watch a 3 to 4 hours performance. It used to be a performance of 14 to 15 hours that were the old days, but now they are 3 to 4 hours performance. We don't have that much patience to watch that performance. We don't go to the theaters again. So we just use our mobile smartphones and scroll down the Facebook and Instagram things. So the reluctance from the audience section. Point one. The point two is the much the taking help from the technological issues. Like in the previous days, the performers used to sing the songs in their own voices. But now, with the advent of technological things, the recorded music are getting played in the Jatra Bharat and Navratri. So these are losing their popularities. And not only that, and in some cases, the indifference from the government as well. So, and yes. So now I will conclude with the thing that what might the solutions for to preserve these art forms? The government first, the government has to take initiative for granting grants and other things. Monetary health, because if we go to the village or rural sites, the actors are fighting with the money problem first. So, and not only that, the directors, producers, and actors have to sit down and they have to think about the contemporary, how the modern audiences, the post-modern audiences are taking the things. How would they like to welcome it? What are the themes? What are the themes? What are the subjects that will entertain them? That will attract them? And yes, the length. I mean, if the 3 to 4 hours length is too much, then they have to think about to lessen the length as well. And not only that, and the academicians have to put some efforts to preserve these aspects. So, like this kind of seminars and conferences, performance studies and research on these theatrical performances of the folk theaters might help to preserve these art forms. And this is all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arun. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Iqbal Ahmad, Department of Foreign Languages, Aligarh Muslim University.
Assalamu alaikum and very good evening to all of you. Uh, Professor Zahir Saab, Dr. Amdali, Dr. Anisa Iqbal, and Dr. Kamal Saab. I must thank Dr. Pathan Saab for having me here. I really enjoyed listening to your research papers. As I am concerned, say, this topic is very, as a matter of research, it was something new for me. So I had prepared something a bit related to this, and it was about how Indian folk literature can be helpful in writing dictionaries of Indian languages. So I have just written something. I'll share with you, and then I'll take leave. If the like Indian folk literature can play highly significant role in the circulation and enrichment of dictionaries of Indian language. In a multilingual country like India, where many languages exist in both written and oral forms, folk literature serves as a vast and authentic linguistic resource. Since it reflects the speech of common people, it provides valuable material for lexicographers who aim to compile comprehensive and culturally sensitive dictionaries. One of the most important contributions of folk literature to dictionary writing is the preservation of regional and dialectal vocabulary. Folk tales, songs, proverbs, riddles, and ballads contain numerous local words that may not appear in formal or standardized text. These words often relate to agriculture, festivals, kinship relationship, and occupations, flora and fauna, and traditional practices. By collecting and analyzing such oral materials, dictionary writers can include words that represent the true linguistic richness of a region rather than limiting themselves to standardized or urban forms of the language. Folk literature also helps in documenting meanings in their cultural context. Many words in Indian languages carry meanings that are deeply rooted in social customs and traditions. For example, terms associated with rituals, caste rules, or seasonal activities may not be fully understood without cultural explanation. Folk narratives provide contextual usage, enabling lexicographers to define words more accurately and provide illustrative examples. This makes dictionaries more descriptive and culturally informative. Another important aspect is the preservation of idiomatic expressions and proverbs. Indian folk literature is rich in idioms, metaphors, similes, and symbolic language. These expressions often convey meaning that cannot be understood literally. Including such idiomatic usage in dictionaries enhances their practical value for language learners, researchers, and translators. It also ensures that the figurative and expressive aspects of languages are not neglected. Folk literature is especially useful in documenting endangered and tribal languages. In many communities, this language survives mainly through oral traditions rather than written records. Myths, legends, and songs become primary resources for vocabulary collections. Linguists working on dictionary projects often rely on storytellers and folk performers to gather authentic lexical data. Thus, folk literature acts as a linguistic archive for languages that might otherwise lack documentation. Folk literature provides insights into pronunciation, phonetic variations, and semantic shifts. Since oral texts preserve natural speech patterns, they help lexicographers understand how words are actually used in daily life. This supports the correlation of dictionaries that reflect living languages rather than rigid artificial standards. Just for conclusion, I have to say Indian folk literature is an invaluable resource for dictionary writing. It offers authentic vocabulary, contextual meanings, thematic richness, and cultural depth. By incorporating material from folk traditions, dictionaries can become more comprehensive, representative, and inclusive of India's diverse linguistic heritage.
Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Kamar Alam, Department of Persian, Aligarh Muslim University.
मोहतरम सदर जलसा प्रोफेसर जरर साहब, डॉक्टर अनीसा इकबाल साहिबा, डॉक्टर अंजलि, डॉक्टर इकबाल साहब और यहाँ मौजूद तमाम शुरका और जिन जिन स्कॉलर्स ने अपना बहुत पेपर यहाँ प्रेजेंट किए, हम शुक्रगुजार हैं अपने भाई डॉक्टर ताहिर पठान साहब के कि आपने इस अहम मौजू का इंतखाब किया। जैसा कि आप लोग सुबह से सुनते हुए आ रहे हैं कि हमारे जन का कलीदी खुतबा डॉक्टर अब्दुल्ला साहब ने पेश किया और इसके अलावा जो चीफ गेस्ट बोल करके गए, रिजवान साहब बोले, प्रोफेसर गुल्ले साहब बोले और मकाला निगार जिन्होंने अपने अपने यहाँ मकाले पेश किए। हमारे रिसोर्स पर्सन ने एक से एक उम्दा अपने खुतबात यहाँ पेश किए। आप सब जान गए होंगे कि ये फोक लिटरेचर यानी लोक अदब, इसको आप आम जबान में कहें अवामी अदब क्या है। हो सकता है हमारे बड़े बड़े स्कॉलर यहाँ बैठे हैं, सबने पहले से पढ़ा होगा और इसको जाना होगा। मैं भी फारसी जबान का तालिब इल्म हूँ और 2012 में फातमी साहब ने लिंग्विस्टिक डिपार्टमेंट में इसको अली अहमद हमारे यार फतीही साहब ने इस पर सेमिनार किया था, उसमें मैंने भी अपना पेपर पढ़ा था। फारसी की बहुत मशहूर मसनवी है नल दमन, नल दमन पर मैंने उसका जो लोक अदब उसके खासा अहमियत है उस पर मकाला पढ़ा था। और अब जो जनरेशन है हो सकता है इसने नहीं जाना होगा, लेकिन करिश्मा है, एक मेहनत है डॉक्टर ताहिर खान साहब की, उन्होंने इस टॉपिक का इंतखाब किया और आप सब जान गए कि लोक अदब क्या है, इसकी समाजी व तहजीबी अहमियत क्या है। एक से एक हमारे सबने पेश किए, वक्त कम हो चुका है, मुझसे तकाजा भी हुआ है कि सब कोशिश कीजिए 5 मिनट में खत्म कर दे, तकरीर न करनी है न मकाला पेश करना है। कुछ चीजें हैं जो फारसी अदब से मुतालिक आपके सामने पेश करूंगा, हो सकता है आपने पहले से जानी हो, लेकिन मैं भी कोशिश करूंगा कि आप दोबारा से उसको फिर याद किया जाए। लोक अदब, फोक लिटरेचर, अवामी अदब किसी भी कौम की तहजीबी रूह, इज्तिमाई शऊर और अवामी दानिश का मोतबर इजहार है। यानी आप किसी अवाम की किसी आम चीज को इजहार करना चाहे, किसी का हिस्से की कोई आम बात को आप पहचान देना चाहे, तो उसका सबसे अहम जरिया ये लोक अदब ही है। ये अदब तहरीरी रिवायत से कब्ल वजूद में आया और जबानी रिवायत के जरिए नस्ल दर नस्ल मुंतकिल होता रहा। इस बिना पर लोक अदब अवामी जिंदगी, समाजी साख और तहजीबी इर्तिका को समझने का एक बुनियादी वसीला बना। दुनिया की ज्यादातर जबानों में लोक अदब की मुख्तलिफ सूरतें पाई जाती हैं, जैसे लोक कहानियां, दास्तानें, कहावतें, ज़रबुल अमसाल, लोकगीत और पहेलियां। और मैडम ने अभी हमारा निसाफा ने पेश किया और उन्होंने अलग अलग किस्में बताई, जिसमें आपने मराठी में क्या उस तरह से किस्में होती हैं लोक अदब की, और प्रेजेंटर्स ने जो अभी पेपर पेश किए उन्होंने सब अलग अलग किस्में बताई। फारसी रिवायत भी लोक दानिश की अहमियत को वाज़ेह करती है। सादी फरमाते हैं, हिकमत अज गुफ्तार अवाम नीज बर आयत, यानी हिकमत अवाम के अक़वाल से भी जाहिर हो जाती है कि अवाम में क्या बातचीत है, क्या दवाएं चल रही है। ये तमाम हिकमत, तमाम जो चीजें हैं, ये लोक अदब के जरिए तक पहुंची। अगर आप देखें तो फारसी जुबान में सबसे अहम लोक दास्तान अगर कही जाए, लोक अदब किया जाए, तो वो फिरदौसी का शाहनामा है, क्योंकि शाहनामा एक बड़ा इपिक है जिससे आपने रुस्तम सराब को जाना, जिसमें आपने क्याबुश को जाना। ईरान की कदीम जितनी बादशाहें रही, उसका सिर्फ और सिर्फ अहम सोर्स जो माना जाता है वो फिरदौसी का शाहनामा माना जाता है। लेकिन शाहनामे से पहले कहीं आप मुनज़्ज़म अगर उसको तारीख को देखा जाए ईरान की, वो कहीं नहीं मिलती है। इसका सेहरा हम फिरदौसी को देते हैं, जिसने 30 साल की मुद्दत में लोगों से सुनाई बातें, जितनी ईरानी कदीम तारीख थी, जो यानी बादशाह थे, खामनेशी बादशाह थे, क्याबूस थे, सबको उन्होंने सुना। और 30 साल की मुद्दत में, जिसके लिए खुद फिरदौसी कहते हैं, बसीरुन रंज बुरदम तरीन सालिसी अजम जिंदे करदम बदीन फारसी, यानी मैंने 30 साल की मेहनत के बाद में अजम, रेस्ट ऑफ अरब का अजम की तारीख को मैंने जिंदा कर दिया। इसमें वो तमाम कहानियां जो हमारे एक लोक अदब का हिस्सा थी, वो फिरदौसी ने बाकायदा नज्म करके आप सबके सामने पेश कर दी। और तब से लेके आज तक हम सब जानते हैं कि ईरान के अंदर क्या क्या कदीम किस्से थे, वो कहानियां सामने आई। इसके अलावा हिंदुस्तान में आप आइए तो बेशुमार दास्तानें मौजूद है, जिसमें नलदमन का भी मैंने जिक्र किया, हीर राजा है, लैला मजनू है, मनोहर मधुमालती है, बहुत सारी। अभी मेरे अंदर में निसाफे के स्कॉलर ने काम किया, अहद औरंगजेब की मंजूम इश्किया दास्तानों का तज्जियाती मुताला, तो उसमें स्कॉलर ने 28 मंजूम दास्तानें सिर्फ औरंगजेब के वक्त में ही उसने सर्च की, जो फारसी में मौजूद है, और उन सबको पेश किया। बड़ी दिलचस्प कहानियां हैं। ये सब के साथ हमारे हिंदुस्तान की रिवायत को, हमारे हिंदुस्तान की समाजी हम आहंगी को, हिंदू मुस्लिम हम आहंगी को, हिंदू मुस्लिम इंसान दोस्ती को पेश करती है। और अलग अलग तरीके से अलग अलग रिवायत के साथ, कहीं बनारस की दास्तानें, कहीं गुजरात की दास्तानें, कोई पूरब की दास्तानें, कोई पश्चिम की दास्तानें, कहीं पश्चिम की दास्तानें। तो ये लोक अदब के जरिए ही हम अपने समाज को, अपनी तहजीब को बआसानी समझ सकते हैं और बआसानी जान सकते हैं। इसी बस तमाम छोटी छोटी सी गुफ्तगू को बस मैं आपके सामने यही पेश खत्म करूंगा। और बस मेरा कहना है कि उर्दू अदब ने भी फारसी रिवायत को हिंदुस्तानी अवामी फिजा में जब तक एक नई तहजीबी सूरत पैदा की। अमीर खुसरो ने फारसी और हिंदवी के इम्तजाज से अवामी जबान को अदबी मकाम तक अदा किया। खुसरो कहते हैं, सिहाने मिस्की मकुन तगाफुल दुराए नैना पनाए वतिया। यह शायर तहजीबी महंगी की रोशन मिसाल है। नजीर अकबर आबादी ने उर्दू शायरी को दरबार से निकालकर बाजार, मेले और गली कूचों तक पहुंचाया। दुनिया में बादशाह है तो है वो भी आदमी, और सो गदा है तो है वो भी आदमी। ये तमाम चीजें आप सबके सामने अभी हम कुछ लोगों ने डिस्कस की। उम्मीद है इंशाल्लाह कल के भी इजलास में ये अलग अलग तरीके से इस टॉपिक पर लोग अपने अपने मकाले पेश करेंगे। और मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ इंशाल्लाह जिस मकसद से इस सेमिनार का इनेकाद किया वो कामयाबी के साथ अपने इख्तिताम तक पहुंचेगा। बहुत शुक्रिया।
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to invite Chair Professor Mustaq Ahmed Zargar, former Chairperson, Department of Modern Indian Languages, Aligarh Muslim University.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम वरहमतुल्लाहि वबरकातुहू। डाइस पे तशरीफ फरमा डिग्निटरीज, डॉक्टर अनीता इकबाल साहिबा, डॉक्टर अनवीर साहिबा, डॉक्टर कमर आलम साहिब, डॉक्टर इकबाल साहिब, डायरेक्टर ऑफ द सेमिनार डॉक्टर साहिब पठान साहब, खवातीन हज़रात, आज जिस मौजू पे ये सेमिनार मुनक्किद किया जा रहा है, ये सुबह से जितने भी तकारीरें हुई, उलमा की गुफ्तगू हमने सुनी, उससे ये जाहिर हुआ कि वाकई ये एक बहुत ही अहम मौजू है जिस पे ये सेमिनार मुनक्किद किया गया है। जितने भी स्कॉलर्स यहाँ आए, आपने मकाले पढ़े, बहुत ही अंग्रेजी के साथ आप अपने अपना व्यू पॉइंट आपने इस ऑडियंस के सामने रखा, तो मुझे जाती तौर बहुत खुश हुई। तो जज पे तशरीफ फरमा जो डिग्निटरीज हैं, उनमें डॉक्टर अंजीब साहिबा ने जो अपना मकाला खुतबा पेश किया, उन्होंने बहुत ही अहम सवाल उजागर किए जिन्हें का जवाब तलाश करने की बहुत जरूरत है। आपने फरमाया कि ये जो यूरोप है, यूरोप हमें कहता है ये अनसिविलाइज्ड है या डिससिविलाइज्ड है। मामला ये है, ऐसा क्यों हो गया है, उनकी क्या रीजन है, इस पे हमें गौर करने की इल्मी बुनियादों पे इसका जवाब तलाश करना है। वो ये है कि अगर हम अनसिविलाइज्ड हैं तो उन यूरोपीय मुहक्किकीन को, उन रिसर्चर्स को हमारे इस अनसिविलाइज्ड या नॉन सिविलाइज्ड तहजीब पर तहकीक करने की क्या जरूरत थी। इसलिए जरूरत आई क्योंकि उन्होंने इसका सियासी इस्तेमाल किया, उन्होंने इसको डिवाइडेड रूल के लिए इस्तेमाल किया। वो कल्चर के नाम पे, जबान के नाम पे दुनिया को तकसीम करना चाहते हैं और उसमें वो कामयाब हो गए। लेकिन हमारी नाकामी ये है कि हमारे पास जो जखीरा है, जो लोक अदब का जखीरा है, ये जबान के जरिए हम तक पहुंचा है। इंसान की जो इब्तिदाई आफरीनी से जब से आदम इस दुनिया पे आए, जब से फोक लिटरेचर शुरू हुआ। और फोक लिटरेचर जो है ये एक भावना है, ये एक इजहार है उस इंसान का जो लाखों साल से आज तक हमारी जनरेशन तक इस जमीन पे आबाद हैं या आबाद होके वापस गए। मैं ये अर्ज करना चाहता हूँ कि देखिए उस वक्त हमारे पास, इंसान के पास कोई मीडियम नहीं था अपनी बात दूसरे तक पहुंचाने का, और इसलिए उन्होंने जबान का सहारा लिया। हमारे पास प्रिंटिंग प्रेस नहीं थे, हमारे पास आज की तरह मीडिया नहीं था, सोशल मीडिया नहीं था, प्रिंट मीडिया नहीं था, इसलिए उन्होंने जबान का इस्तेमाल किया। वो भी कितना खूबसूरती से उन्होंने इस्तेमाल किया। इसमें एक रिदमिक, इसमें ये जो एक रिदम पैदा किया, इसमें एक मौसीकी पैदा की जो इंसान के कल्ब और जहन को मोह लेती है, उस पर असर करती है। तो इसलिए वो इस चीज को आगे नस्लों तक मुंतकिल करने के लिए सीना ब सीना या जबानी को एक दूसरे को, लेकिन इस इंसानी जहन ने इसको न सिर्फ महफूज रखा बल्कि आइंदा भी मुंतकिल किया। लेकिन ये वही लोग थे जो हम पे ये इल्जाम देते हैं कि आप लेस कल्चर्ड हैं। उन्हीं लोगों ने इस लेस, उनके जबान में इनकी इस लेस कल्चर को ट्रांसलेट करके अपने लिए रोजगार के मौके पैदा किए, अपने लिए उन्होंने रिसोर्सेज पर कब्जे किए। क्या ये सही नहीं है कि हम ये जो तीसरी दुनिया है या बाकी दुनिया की है यूरोप के बगैर, वो हमारे खजानों को हमारे लोगों के जरिए खाली करवा के अपनी तजोरियां करते हैं, और जब वो तकाजा करते हैं फिर कहते हैं हम डॉलर को वापस लेंगे, हम इसको डिवैल्यू करेंगे, हम वापस नहीं करेंगे। अब फैसला यही है कि वो लेस कल्चर्ड है या हम हैं। उनके कल्चर का पैमाना यही है कि ये एपिस्टीन फाइल्स वो उनके कल्चर को जाहिर करती है। अब मैं इस मौजूद पे आता हूं, तो मैं ये अर्ज करूं कि देखिए अलिफ लाला है या पंचतंत्रा है या कथा सरित सागर है, वो कहाँ की पैदावार है? क्या यूरोप की जो ये आजकल जो टेलीविजन या जो इंटरनेट की ये जो चैनलें हैं, क्या उन पे ये चीजें नहीं चल रही हैं? वो इसका दस्त इस पे कमा रही हैं। और लेकिन अब मामला ये सिर्फ जरीफी ये है कि हमारी चीजें हम क्यों उनके इससे मोहताज हैं कि उनके जरिए से हम देखें कि हमारे बारे में क्या है। उसकी वजह ये है कि देखिए फोकलोर जो है, फोक लिटरेचर जो है, वो हमारी मुकामी जबानों में है, हमारी हिंदुस्तानी जबानों में है। हमने वो जबानें बोलना, हमने वो जबानें सीखना, वो जबानें उस जबानों को प्रमोट करना हमने छोड़ दिया है। खजा जो ये जो फोक कश्मीर के बारे में मिथ है कि कश्यप ऋषि, और उससे पहले वो एक मिथ है कि उसने वो से पानी निकाल दिया, फिर वो कुछ हो गया, फिर उसको भगा दिया। हमारे हिस्ट्री नहीं है, हमारा पहला सोर्स है वो है फोकलोर है, हमारी माइथोलॉजी। इंसान जो है जब इसके इसके जहन में आर्किटाइप्स हैं, ख्यालात हैं, लेकिन जब ये ख्यालात ने इजहार पाया, इसको हमने एक्सप्रेस किया, तो असातीर आ गई, तो असातीर आ गए, तो मिथ्स बन गई। तो ये एक टेक्निक थी मिथ के जरिए वो अपनी बात को आइंदा नस्ल तक महफूज करते थे। तो मैं ये अर्ज करूं कि देखिए जो भी मजहबी हम जो चीज सिर्फ जो करें तो कुरान शरीफ की बात नहीं करते। देखिए इंजील है, रामायण है, महाभारत है, या ये जो हिंदू पुराना है या जो बुद्धिस्ट जो कहानियां हैं, इन्होंने फोकलोर का ही सहारा लिया, फोकलोर के जरिए उसको प्रोपिगेट करने की कोशिश की। और ये एक बात अहम है कि हम जब तक जहन साजी न करें, जब तक हम जबानदारी न करें, तब तक फोकलोर बहुत ही बेकार है। ये उन में है जो इसका, और हमारी बेइज्जती है कि हम इसके बारे में कॉन्शियस नहीं है। जब तक हम जबान की तरफ वापस न जाए, अपनी जबानों को न सीखें, अपने बच्चों को न सिखाएं, और मीडिया पे जब तक हम इस फोकलोर का फायदा नहीं उठा सकते हैं। ये फोकलोर एक अहम खजाना है, छुपा हुआ खजाना है। इसमें जबान है, इसमें एक वर्ड से आप जब आप मुहावरा इस्तेमाल करते हैं, एक पूरी हिस्ट्री सामने आती है। जब आप प्रोवर्ब इस्तेमाल करते हैं, एक हिस्ट्री सामने आती है। आपको वो कहानी दोहराने की जरूरत नहीं रहती। मैं इससे यहाँ से एक मिसाल के तौर पर कर रहा हूँ कि हमारी ये जो कश्मीरी जबान में, उसमें हीमाल और नगराय एक मिथ है, ये या एक जो स्टोरी है, मिथिकल स्टोरी है। उसमें क्या है कि ये जो हीमाल है वो एक लड़की है, और जो नागराय है, नागराय, वो एक मतलब लड़का है। वो उनका प्यार हो जाता है। तो लेकिन ये जो है, ये हिमाल जो है वो आर्यन थी, और ये जो नागराय था वो कश्मीर का बाशिंदा था, वो थोड़ा सावधा था, और लेकिन शादी हो गई। उसके बाद एक औरत आती है, तो वो नहीं कहती है कि भाई वो नागराय कहाँ है। उसने कहा कि क्यों, वो तो गए हैं काम के लिए, गए हैं काम करने के लिए। उसने कहा उनसे कह दीजिए कि मेरा जो एक जूता आपने वो उसने लफ्ज बात करना, ये लफ्ज उसमें है इसलिए इस्तेमाल ना, कोई चौक नहीं। उसने कहा वो चमार को बता देना कि कहीं रिकॉर्ड में, क्योंकि ये लफ्ज सी और दिल्ली कोर्ट का कानूनी कोर्ट मना है, फिर मैं समझाने के लिए इस्तेमाल कर। तो उनको बता दीजिए जूते बनाने वाले को कि मेरा एक जूता बनाया गया, दूसरा नहीं बनाया है, तो ये क्या बात हो गई, मैं कल आता हूँ। तो ये जो हिमाल थी, उसके दिल में एक ये हो गया कि यार ये नीची जात का है, निचली जात का है। जब वो आया तो झगड़ा शुरू हो गया। उन्होंने कहा मुझे आप बताइए आपकी जात क्या है। उसने कहा मेरी जात से क्या लेना, हाँ अब हमारा तो रिश्ता है। नहीं मुझे तो बताइए। और ये हुआ कि उसने कहा ठीक है, अगर आप मजबूर करते हैं तो मैं अपनी जात आप पे जाहिर करता हूँ। उसने कहा एक दूध का एक वो बाल्टी लाइए, दूध की बाल्टी लाई गई, तो नागराय उसमें कूद पड़ा, और वो पूछती रही। उसने कहा मत पूछिए जात, मत पूछिए, तो वो उसमें डूबता गया। जब इसको लगा कि ये आप तो पूरा ही डूब जाएगा, उसने उसके बाल, ये जो लड़की थी हिमाल, उसने उसके बाल पकड़ लिए, वो उसके हाथ में आ गए, और बाकी वो गायब हो गया। अब वो क्या करे, वो परेशान हो गई। फिर ऐसे वैसे तो फिर मतलब मसला यहाँ पे ये हुआ था कि वो उसकी ये जो जात का तस्वुर था, कास्ट सिस्टम का तस्वुर था, उसने एक मियाँ बीवी के रिश्तों को खत्म कर दिया। वह इस तरह से वो कहानी बहुत लंबी चौड़ी है, मैंने सिर्फ इसकी ये बताई। मैंने कहा कि ये जो इसमें वो साइकी है, जो जैसे लोग फील करते हैं, वो साइकी इसमें महफूज है। वो आपकी हिस्ट्री में कहीं नहीं मिलेगी, क्योंकि हिस्ट्री या तो वो दरबारी लोगों ने लिखी है, या तो सरमाएदारों ने लिखी है, या चालाक लोगों ने लिखी है। लेकिन असल हिस्ट्री जो है वो अवामी हिस्ट्री है, वो अवामी अदब है। मैं ये अर्ज कर रहा हूँ कि अगर हम इस चीज का पूरा फायदा लेना चाहते हैं, तो फिर हमें अपनी जबान की तरफ दोबारा रुजू करना पड़ेगा। अभी एक यूनिवर्सिटीज में जो ऑडिटोरियम से वो प्रोग्राम्स वगैरह करने का होना चाहिए, लेकिन ये सिर्फ यूनिवर्सिटी कंडीशन है। हमारे चौपाल कहाँ गए, हमारे स्कूल कहाँ गए, हम जो अभी, लेकिन हमें की जरूरत नहीं है। ये जो है बेसिकली फोक लिटरेचर जो है, ये इकोनॉमी को प्रमोट करने के लिए ज्यादा आया, क्योंकि लोग ये गाते थे, वो पावर को, ताकत को, उसको वो एक कलेक्टिव फोर्स बनाने के लिए वो गाते थे, कहानियां सुनाते थे, गाना गाते थे, इसलिए ये प्रमोट होता रहा, और उसका बड़ा इकोनॉमी में इसका बड़ा रोल था। तो मैं मसले तो बहुत टाइम बहुत है, मैं इसको ज्यादा बात करना नहीं चाहूँगा। अब देखिए 4 नंबर पे तो उसकी अभी कोई हमारे कमर साहब बात कर रहे थे, देखिए शाहनामा फिरदौसी में भी, उसमें भी तारीख और ये जो फोकलोर की जो फोक कहानियां हैं उसमें शामिल है। उसके बिना वो नहीं, रामायण में जैसे मैंने बता दिया वो इसके बिना है ही नहीं। अर्ज करूं अब यही चीज है कि ये जो फोकलोर की वजह से ही जो हम जैसे लिंग्विस्टिक स्टडीज है ना, या इसमें स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म का जो आया, जो स्टडी इसी से पैदा हो गई। फोकलोर ने हमारी आंखें खोल दी है, वही हमारी इल्म की बुनियाद बनी। और मैं यह चाहता हूँ कि सवाल यह है कि आज के दौर में इसकी रेलेवेंस क्या है। फोकलोर की इसी दौर में इसकी रेलेवेंस है, इसकी रेलेवेंस जरूर है। ये जो देखिए साइंस जब नफ्सियाती तौर खुद कफील होती है तो असातीर यानी मिथ खत्म नहीं होती है, बल्कि ये कायम रहती हैं। तो आज भी असातीर वही अहमियत रखते हैं जो पिछले जमाने में रखते थे। मैं सिर्फ एक शेर पढ़ के, कश्मीरी का शेर है, उसका तर्जुमा भी बताता हूँ। तो पहले मैं शेर का तर्जुमा ही बताता हूँ। वो ये है कि इंदराज, इंदर, इंदर जो एक है ना हिंदू माइथोलॉजी में एक देवता है ना। अच्छा, इंद्राज जो है कहते हैं कि उसका जो वो बारिश का, हवा का माना जाता है। लेकिन आप देखिए दूसरी हमारी इसमें तो उसका क्या फर्क हो गई, वहां को नगमे का, म्यूजिक का माना गया है। तो दूसरी अब एक सूफी शायर का कलाम है, वो कहता है इंद्राज ने दरबार नग्म गुजांची परिस्तान हो, इंद्राज ने दरबार नग्म करांची परिस्तान हो, सोच मंसूर ग्रजान कान में दिशा वो जवानों। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
So much, sir. We now proceed with the felicitation of our distinguished guest. I would like to invite Dr. Tahir H. Pathan, in charge Marathi Section and Director of the seminar, to felicitate Professor Mustaq Ahmad Zargar, sir. I invite Dr. Pathan sir to felicitate Dr. Emily Pham, Department of Social Work. I invite Dr. Pathan sir to felicitate Dr. Anisa Iqbal Sabir, Department of History and I invite Dr. Pathan sir to felicitate Dr. Iqbal Ahmad, Department of Foreign Language. I invite Dr. Pathan sir to felicitate Dr. Kamar Alam, Department of Persian, AMU. I invite Professor Zargar sir to felicitate Arun Mandal from Uttar Pradesh. I invite Zargar sir to felicitate Dheeraj Pratap Singh from Uttar Pradesh.
उत्तर प्रदेश ही है।
Now I would like to invite Dr. Pathan sir to present the vote of thanks.
लगभग सवेरे से भारतीय लोक साहित्य के बारे में यह विचार मंथन हो रहा है। 5:30 बज चुके हैं। अभी ऑफलाइन सेशन खत्म हो चुका है, ऑनलाइन सेशन अभी चल रहा है। कल भी सेशन कंटिन्यू करना है। इस सत्र की अध्यक्षता आधुनिक भारतीय भाषा विभाग के पूर्व चेयरपर्सन और कश्मीरी भाषा के विद्वान, बाल साहित्यिक, ब्लॉक लिटरेचर पे जिसने काम किया, चाइल्ड लिटरेचर पे जिसने काम किया, और हमारे जो मार्गदर्शक रह चुके हैं, ऐसे आदरणीय जरगर साहब ने की, उन्हीं के साथ में खबर साहब होंगे, अंडिम मैम होंगे, अनिसा मैडम होंगे, हमारे इकबाल साहब होंगे। एक रिसर्च पर्सन के तौर पर अपने अपनी भाषा में, चाहे हिस्ट्री हो, चाहे सोशल वर्क हो, चाहे परिश्रम हो, इस सब्जेक्ट को जोड़कर कुछ विचार आपके सामने प्रेजेंट किए। और नई जो रिसर्च स्कॉलर है, जिसने एक अलग पेपर प्रेजेंट यहाँ आपने किया और एक सब्जेक्ट को न्याय देने का प्रयास किया। लगभग समय ज्यादा हो चुका है, अभी कल की भी तैयारी करना है, इसलिए मैं सभी का तहे दिल से शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ। और कल का जो सेशन होंगे, एकेडमिक सेशन, वो डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ मॉडर्न इंडियन लैंग्वेज, कल सवेरे